Good day everyone, Dan here. We've got another class video coming up here. We're going to be talking about a couple different shaman specs. Now, as a boilerplate disclaimer, I did not play a shaman to 60 during vanilla. Strixus gave me a lot of good information back in the day and continues to do so. However, I am not an expert. And as such, if you guys have any thoughts, comments, or you think the points I have placed are inaccurate or incorrect, let me know both in the comments and in Discord. Please do so. Now, first shaman build. We're going to be covering two in this video. We're going to be covering two different shaman builds. This is essentially what I consider Enhancement DPS. And a lot of people, of course, write off Enhancement as impossible to manage in raids in a damage sense. I understand that. And I think that's because a lot of shamans see, where is it? Nature's Guidance as something that is absolutely 110% necessary. And maybe it is. I could be drastically wrong about this. But considering you are focusing on physical damage specifically with the aid of spells, you have to say, all right, I'm going to focus my gear on melee hit chance. Spells are an added bonus. I think that's the direction to take this build. So obviously you have some mana, you have Thunder Strikes, you have Flurry, two-handed mace spec important, enhancement totems, that strength bonus and grace of air bonus, very good. Weapon totems obviously important. Elemental weapon important. Weapon mastery increases all damage with weapons by 10%. Duh. Storm strikes. Storm strikes are amazing. Storm strike is amazing rather. But then we have all this extra stuff in the elemental tree. Now, I remember, and this is fuzzy / vague. I remember enhancement shamans having some difficulties with mana management back in the day, which means convection is probably already something they were using in the first place. Elemental focus is going to help that. Clear casting is great. Elemental devastation. This, I believe, is what makes this build function. Offensive crits, spell crits, increase your chance to get a critical strike with melee attacks by 9% for 10 seconds. Now, the beauty of a lot of Shaman's abilities when it comes to offensive spell casting is that some of them are instant cast. Much like a fire mage and his insta cast Fire Blast. The shaman has a couple different shocks that they can use to get that spell crit that they so desperately enjoy. Now, unfortunately, you can't balance out Nature's Guidance, Elemental Devastation, and Storm Strike at the exact same time, which sucks. But I think it's worth going all the way down to Elemental Devastation while holding on to Storm Strike at the same time. Also, things like Call of Thunder help to maximize what you're doing with your lightning spells. If you do get the clear casting state, it's not going to cost you any mana to sit there and cast for a moment, and you're not getting hit, so you're not losing a ton of swing time. Although it certainly isn't fun to stop swinging and start casting a spell. Overall, though, I want to see enhancement shamans be effective as a damage dealer, and I do remember that they, generally speaking, were not. I want people to keep trying. I want people going into our guild in Elysium trying to make Enhancement Shaman DPS function. Whether it's this build, or people decide to take some of these points out and get down to Nature's Guidance, that's your call. This is just my suggested build that I think would be the most effective. especially when it comes to what I know about multiplying physical damage abilities. But let's say you wanted to actually try and tank as a shaman. Now, between using what information I have, again, from Strixus and from other community members over the last few years, even back into vanilla, if I understand this correctly, this is actually an effective shaman tanking build. And yes, shamans can tank. They can't mitigate crushing blows. That's their one fault. They can't mitigate crushing blows, but as an off tank, they actually are effective. Now, obviously, you want someone in plate or as a bear tanking instead, but in a pinch, this can function. The shield specialization helps immensely. Guardian totems helps this immensely. Two-handed axes and maces you don't really need. I'm going to be honest, you don't really need. But additional toughness, additional dodge, and the ability to parry all speak to this class being able to tank. Now, do you need Storm Strike? Do you need Weapon Mastery? No. No. In fact, I've actually considered taking all of these points out and putting them elsewhere. And I think it'd be entirely reasonable. I don't have Flurry in this build. You don't have Thundering Strikes. You're not there to do damage. You are there to keep something busy while other people kill it. And actually, I've wanted to push points into healing to see if it'd be a tanking spec that would also be effective at healing themselves while they're trying to tank at the same time. And obviously, I don't think it would be effective. Healing Focus doesn't get up to 100%. It simply does not. So, while I would like to see a tank class, I like to see shamans tank and be able to heal themselves partially at the same time. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to heal themselves solo. That would be crazy and not possible. We would have seen that during vanilla had it been possible. However, if a shaman is willing to actually tank, I think this is where it'd be. And again, I am missing 2 points in the build. And I'm still not sure where to put them. Probably improved Ghost Wolf, although it doesn't give you any bonus whatsoever. Maybe enhancing totems. It's 2 points that I still am unsure on. However, I've seen what shamans can do when it comes to tanking individual mobs. They can hold threat, which is the primary concern. The next concern is being able to mitigate the damage, and that's the tough question to answer. Because they don't have access to plate, it does become difficult to say, yes, sure, they can mitigate the damage appropriately. Just because they have shields and a shield specialization doesn't mean they can tank. So I understand people when they say this makes no sense. They can't tank because A, they can't mitigate the crushing blows, and B, they can't wear the best armor available. So while, again, I would really want to see someone take this build or take another build for shaman tanking and run with it and do something with us with it, I would welcome that. I myself am still unsure of the build as it is. Again, I'm still missing 2 points on it. And then the next question comes up is, are they going to have mana issues when it comes to tanking? Because shamans have never been well known to be efficient in their mana use in vanilla. They're not efficient at all, in fact. So, the question becomes, can they maintain their mana reserves long enough to hold threat on an enemy, maybe heal themselves a little bit at the same time, and last throughout the fight doing 1 or 2 of those? questions to answer, questions to ask ourselves moving forward. And feel free to talk about it in the comments below. Feel free to talk about it in Discord. This is one of the spec videos that I'm putting up not because I am 100% confident in these builds, but because I want discussion on them. I want to know your guys' thoughts, whether you think it is possible or is not, and how you think it would be possible. With that being said, though, that is the information I've been able to collect on Shaman damage as enhancement and Shaman tanking as enhancement. Again, feel free to post comments. Feel free to join our Discord. Thank you everyone for being here. I've been Dan, and this has been youtube.com/The Rob and Dan Show.